My dear friends, 2 days ago we heard the tragic news of the passing of our dear friend Lyndon Goldsmith. Yesterday was the Levaya. It was a very sad day. It was painful and emotional, not only for the family, but for all of us who knew Lyndon and who were close to the Goldsmith family. I want to share some thoughts about Lyndon. Yesterday I spoke at the Levaya and I talked about, as did the other people who delivered Hespedim, we talked about the outstanding qualities of Lyndon. He was a remarkable person, extraordinary. He had tremendous conviction and determination. He lived his life, much of his life, with a handicap or multiple handicaps because of different medical conditions that he had. And he refused to allow them to slow him down. He just kept on forging ahead and doing what he felt was important, what he had to do. He loved coming to shul, and wild horses couldn't keep him away, even if he wasn't feeling well. And the determination to attend shiurim. He came to my shiur, came to Rabbi Malitzki's shiur with tremendous determination. Sometimes I would tell him, Lyndon, don't come to shul, don't come to my shiur, you're not up to it. I don't know if he listened all the time, maybe some of the time, but he had such a drive to do what he considered to be the right thing. He constantly asked shilas. He was growing religiously all the time. He was by trade a veterinarian. He loved animals, and he certainly loved people. He had compassion and feeling, and he was just an outstanding and unusual individual. What I wanted to talk about, though, is my own personal relationship with Lyndon. My relationship was on three levels. One was a rabbi with a congregant. Lyndon and Lois were members of OT, I think close to 30 years, but I knew them even longer, for probably around 40 years, 4 decades. And that was they were terrific members of the congregation. Any rabbi would love to have members like Lyndon and Lois. The amount of things that they were involved with and doing is just over the top. Secondly, I had a relationship of a rabbi Talmud, so to speak, because Lyndon came to my shiurim and he just loved being at the shiur, and he would ask insightful questions and probing, and his level of understanding was really extraordinary. And he would ask me shilos and halacha as well, and he wanted to understand what's the reason and how does it work, and what's the reason for the psak. So that was a second dimension of the relationship. And Chazal say, I learned much from my Rebbeim, but I learned more from my Talmidim, from my students, than from my Rebbeim. And that was the case with Lyndon. I learned so much from Lyndon, the interaction with him during the shiur and other times that I would speak to him. But what I want to focus on is the third dimension of my relationship with Lyndon, and that was my relationship as a friend. He was a tremendously close friend, and as a friend, he was devoted and loyal. And I think that to call him a friend is inadequate. The word for friend in Hebrew is chaver. He was more than a chaver. He was a brother. You know, you often, Chazal say, well, we say in the davening, Chaverim Kol Yisrael, the Jewish people are all friends. The entire Jewish, even though we don't know everybody, but we're all friends. We all care about each other. We're Chaverim. But you find a stronger statement of closeness in various places in the Torah. So, for example, when Aaron's children, other than Avihu, died, when they went into the Kachim without permission, so Moshe Rabbeinu told Aaron that he has to continue bringing korbanos, not suspend his activities as the Kohen Gadol. And so Moshe says, But who's going to mourn for your children? Acheichem kol beis Yisrael yifkos esreifa. Your brothers. It means your brothers and sisters. The whole Jewish community. They're going to mourn for the conflagration. So you see that the Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't say chavreichem kol beis, all your friends. It's acheichem, and the reason for that is because chaverim you could find weathered friends. When it's convenient, they're chaverim. When it's not convenient, then they're not there for you. But a brother is always a brother. You cannot sever the tie of a brother. No, sometimes brothers get into arguments and fights. It doesn't matter. This deep down, they're joined at the hip. They're brothers forever, and that's a higher level of relationship that you could be a brother even if you're not biologically or genetically related to each other, but you could still be a brother. How do I know? Because Moshe Rabbeinu said, "Acheichem kol beis," all your brothers and sisters of Klal Yisrael, they're going to mourn for you. And what do we say in the davening? We say Tillim every day. We say at the end of the Tillim, we say, "Acheinu kol beis Yisrael hanetzunim b'sar yeshivya." All our brothers, the Jewish people who are in crisis and who are in captivity, and Makim Yerachim Aleim, God should have compassion on them. We don't talk about them as Chavreinu. We talk about it as Acheinu kol beis Yisrael. And what I would say is that, so why do we ever refer to it as Chaverim kol Yisrael? Why don't we say Achim kol Yisrael? Why do we say Chaverim kol Yisrael? The answer is because not always the Jewish people they're always Achim. That's the nature of the relationship with Klal Yisrael. We're all brothers, we're all sisters, we're all inextricably tied to each other. There's no way to sever that. But oftentimes it's not apparent. When does it emerge? When there's a time of crisis. When Aaron's children died, so then everybody felt that they were a brother and sister. Everybody identified with the pain of Aaron HaKohen. When Jews are in Tzara and Midshivya, such as what's happening now in Eretz Yisrael, everybody, we're not just brothers. We are Achenu. I'm sorry, we're not just Chaveirim, it's Achenu. We're always Achenu, but we don't always realize it. We don't always feel it. It doesn't always rise to the surface. But when there's a crisis, then it rises to the level of Achenu. When Lot, the shepherds of Lot and the shepherds of Avram got into a disagreement, that Avram told Lot that we shouldn't fight. We can't have fighting between ourselves. Why? Because we are brothers. So Rashi comments, Rashi says, Krovim, we are relatives, because Avram was not a brother to Lot, Avram was an uncle. So why does it say Achim? So Rashi says they were Krovim. Alternatively, I would say that Avram is expressing the fact, what I just said before, that deep down we are Achim. We're not just Krovim. We're not just relatives. We're brothers. We're bound to each other. You can't break that bind. And now that there's a crisis, now that there's a meriva, there's an argument, there's fighting, friends can have arguments with each other. It's understandable because it's not a total commitment. But brothers must not have. If you're brothers, brothers should not be fighting. That's an enormous tragedy when brothers fight with each other. So we're not just brothers. We're not just friends. We're achim. That's what Avram tells Lot, his nephew. Ki achim, ki anashim achim anachim. We are brothers, and therefore we cannot allow ourselves to be engaged in a fight. When people have a common goal in life, then they also become achim. In the Chumash, in this week's parsha, it refers to the Kohen Gadol as HaKohen HaGadol Me'echov, the Kohen who's greater than his brothers. He rises to a higher level. Well, there were hundreds or thousands of Kohanim, but there's one Kohen Gadol who's Gadol Me'achov. He's greater than his brothers. Why not Hagadol Mechaverov or Hagadol Mikrovov? He's greater than his relatives. So it's because since the Kohanim work together and they serve the Jewish people together and they're doing the avodah together in the Beis Hamikdash, so their relationship is not just krovim, it's not just chaverim, it's achim. It's so he's the Kohen Hagadol Me'achav. He's the one that's greater than his brothers. This is something that we've been witnessing in Eretz Yisrael remarkably the last 7.5 months. The brotherhood dimension of Klal Yisrael is so strong. It's just amazing, unbelievable. People, the 1,200 people that were murdered, I didn't know any of them. Probably very few of us knew who they are, but we felt it was like our brother. That when we heard about it, and certainly in Eretz Yisrael, the level of trauma that people feel for the losses. Just today, they announced that they found the bodies of 3 hostages. There's such an outpouring of compassion and concern and anguish, and from the general public, but also from the political figures. And I was reading it in the online to hear what people said, just so moving. And these are people that they didn't know these hostages. They never met them. But there was such profound feeling. So this is the brotherhood, the Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael, that was always there under the surface. There was plenty of fighting going on in Eretz Yisrael, especially before October 6th. There was so much anger and conflict. But deep down, the Jewish people are Achim. They're not just brothers. Deep down, they're Achim. And when there was a moment of crisis, and people needed to join together for a common cause, it's just remarkable. You can't even describe it. The sense of sharing and devotion and commitment. People put their lives in danger. People reservists who didn't have to go to the battlefront. People who weren't even reservists. People wanted to be there because they felt it's Achenu, it's our brothers. So Lyndon was Achenu. Lyndon was not, this was my relationship with him, but I know it was the same relationship with many of you in the community. And it's my relationship with the Goldsmith family, Lyndon and Lois and the children. It's not just Chaverim, it's Achenu. And as a brother, Lyndon was not just 100% loyal, he was 1,000% loyal. Anything that I needed, or anything that anybody that he was close with needed, it was Achen. And the same thing with Lois. Lois, her chesed is just, especially with Bikur Cholim and things of that sort, is just breathtaking. That's the type of family that it is. The unbelievable connection and concern for others. Lyndon was able to connect with animals because they're also God's creatures. Rachma v'kol ma'asav, Hashem's compassion is everything that He has created. But when it comes to human beings, it was of course, it was even far greater. But it was a connection of achim, of brotherhood, and as a brother, Lyndon was always loyal. That was one of the special qualities that he had. Brothers could sometimes fight. With Lyndon, there was no fighting. I never saw Lyndon get upset. Never saw him get into an argument. Never heard him say lashon hara. Lyndon always looked at the positive side. Every time I asked Lyndon, how you feeling, he would say, Baruch Hashem. I saw him a week ago in Shul, or on Pesach 2 weeks ago. He could hardly walk. His back was fractured. I asked him, how's he feeling? He said, Baruch Hashem. That was Lyndon's line. Baruch Hashem. He wasn't going to allow anything to pull him down. He always stood up. He couldn't stand up physically straight, but inside he was straight. He was always upright. He was always driven to go forward. And that quality, that strength of character emerged in particular when it came to his relationship with the members of the community, with the relationship that I was privileged to have with him. He was Achenu. And Mirz Hashem, his memory should be a constant source of inspiration for ourselves, the entire community in Klal Yisrael.